It's Customer Solutions 8, and I'm here with my buddy and the CEO of GoHighLevel, Sean Clark. Sean, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm so excited about this interview, and I've said this to other people, and it's going to sound a little bit like pandering. I think GoHighLevel is the most disruptive software I've ever seen in the marketing space.
Wow, that means a lot, especially coming from you.
Well, I mean, it's such a big deal. Like what y'all have provided, and it's not just the feature set. The feature set's amazing, but it's the business model. And I'm really excited to dig into that here in just a minute. I do want to preface for all of our listeners, this is the very first time we've ever had anybody on the channel that we have an affiliate relationship with. So if you're watching, I just want to play full disclosure. I was a GoHighLevel user way before I was an affiliate, but I fell in love with the software so much that now we push it out. If you're interested in signing up, I'm going to drop my affiliate link in the description. I do want you to know that there's something of a conflict of interest just in terms of us promoting the software, but I think you're going to see why at the end of this interview. So that disclaimer aside, Sean, what's the elevator pitch? Like, how would you explain, nobody's ever heard about it, let's say, you're in front of some marketers that just haven't been exposed to it. How do you explain GoHighLevel?
Totally. So it is basically your all-in-one marketing toolkit. So if you take all the software you currently use, if you're used to taking 6 or 7 different apps and trying to kind of glue them all together to run your agency, GoHighLevel really replaces all of those. And then on top of it, it's all white label. So instead of going out and selling somebody else's product to your customers, you can actually white label it and have your own platform.
Yeah, well, and so what you just said is a bold statement. And if I was a marketer, I'd probably be pretty skeptical when you say all in one, but y'all, like, the feature set in GoHighLevel is absolute, complete, and total insanity. It's like marketing automation, CRM, opportunities, funnel builder, of course, and a really robust funnel builder. What am I missing? Triggers, reputation management,
full call tracking, like call rail replacement,
right.
Web chat, reputation management and reviews. Like you can do all the blast stuff. So you full email marketing, blasting out text, blasting out emails. I'm sure there's something else there that I'm missing. I mean, Google My Business Messaging is cool to me. I love Google My Business Messaging.
Scheduling, it replaces Calendly.
Totally. Oh, scheduling, forgot that. Yeah, Calendly replacement, all of that stuff. Missed call text back. So if you're running like any kind of call campaigns for your clients, you can have it automatically text them if they miss a call, like on and on and on. The feature set's pretty vast.
Well, so here's what's nuts. Now, if you're an individual, if you're a standalone business and not an agency, this isn't for you. Just full disclosure. If you're an agency, I want you to perk up here because I've been an Infusionsoft partner, an Optify partner, a HubSpot partner, an Acton partner, a Ontraport partner, and on and on and on and on. I've used every marketing automation solution on the planet. SharpSpring, some of them are really good. Here's what's interesting though, is if you go, let's say you're selling ClickFunnels to your customers. They're a ClickFunnels customer and you're making a percentage. And that's true for every single software suite I've ever seen. What GoHighLevel does is you pay them a flat fee, and then every subsequent customer is yours, and you bill them whatever you want. How did I do this, Sean?
No, that's perfect. There you go. Exactly. Absolutely.
Dude, it's nuts. You pushed the monetization onto the agency. Like you left profitability in the hands of the agency.
That was the idea. That was our goal.
It's huge. It's huge. And when I first signed up, I was kind of like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. Like I basically, honestly, I thought I was cheating. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm just going to put all my clients on one account. And then I realized like you're leaning into that business model, which is a really, really big deal. I told my business partner, I said, if I had to start over today, let's say, metaphoric meteor hits my business and I'm at zero, I'd roll up GoHighLevel and I would build something from an infrastructure perspective for a specific niche and then head in that direction.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about the dangers of GoHighLevel, because anytime you have anything that's that powerful, you've got to be really careful about being me too. My soft opinion, and I'd love for you to challenge me on this, is you've got to niche down or GoHighLevel's value ends up diluting a little bit.
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's true, but I think how you define niche could be really interesting, right?
Sure.
So I think that there's a ton of local digital agencies all over the place that aren't truly niched, except for the fact that they're in their own local areas. And I would say that for the vast majority of local business, there's a feature set out there that's really, really, really homogeneous. Basically, it's the same. It creates amazing value. And the more it gets out, it doesn't get watered down. That's the fun part. So like, I'm thinking of things like two-way text messaging with your customers, web chat widget on the website, Google My Business Messaging. It's kind of like saying, well, wouldn't having a phone system be sold to every business in town? Isn't that a bad thing? And it's like, well, everyone's like, well, of course not. everyone needs a phone system, right? Well, in the future, in the very near future, I think everyone's going to message a business, right? And so I think if you're a local digital agency and you're not niched down in the traditional sense, you can still go out there and just crush it with high level before you ever talk about marketing automation or email campaigns or any of that other stuff. I think there's a lot of things you can sell to all of those people without ever being in a niche.
One of the things that's cool about high level, if you have niche down, is you have the ability to clone an entire, we're calling them snapshots, right?
Yeah, totally. It does work well for niches, but I will say, so, if that's the nice thing I think about it. It works for either use case.
Yeah. Well, so I've got an agent, I'm obsessed with Montessori schools. I don't know if I've told you that.
No,
my kids go to
Montessori school, so that works.
Oh, no way, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's the only system of pedagogy based on the scientific method. I think every child deserves to go to Montessori school. I own an agency dedicated to helping Montessori schools grow. It's not even meant to be a profit center. We just want to help these little schools. And so we found high level and we rolled up snapshots for these Montessori schools. And I've got like all the email nurtures built out specifically for Montessori, all the, the snapshot, the framework, the opportunity pipelines. So when I have a new school, there's zero infrastructure build to do. I just roll it out, hand it to them, and then they customize it to suit their own needs, which is pretty nifty.
Total. That's the whole idea. I mean, it's designed to help the agency scale up really, really, really quickly. So, when you've built out, like you said, email campaigns and workflows and landing pages and websites and on and on and on. And you're like, oh no, yay, I got a new customer, but oh no, I don't want to spend 6 hours to put all that in there. It's literally copy paste. And you're now starting off with all these assets pre-built, and you just go in and do some tweaks. And now that your customer's up and operational, getting value very quickly, they like you, now you're fulfilling your value proposition, and you just didn't have to waste 6 hours getting them going.
Yeah. Well, so let's do a little bit of negative selling here, if you don't mind, which
Sure.
I always like kind of putting your skunks on the table. When an agency signs up for high level and then doesn't retain, let's say they jump ship, what are the fail points in your mind? Like, where are you like, hey, don't sign up if you don't have this, or you're not ready for that? Where's the caveat?
I mean, I would say the thing we don't do the best is we're engineers. Like, I'm an engineer. That's my sort of skill set. So we're always thinking about new features and everything else. I don't think we do enough of a good job of getting people up and operational. And we see it in our numbers. Like it's the valley of death for us. It's if we get a customer through the first 2 months of using high level, they stick forever. But it's that learning curve, and recognizing, as a platform, when you have this many features, it's super exciting, but you also have, there's going to be a learning curve. And if you're not, good at watching videos or reading articles or going through help documents and that kind of thing, it can be tricky for some people. And that's probably what we need to do a better job of.
Well, dude, here's what I heard is you have to do the work.
Right.
And that's why your customers are agencies. They're not individuals, they're not organizations. Like, a business can expect a little bit of handholding. If you're an agency and you're watching this, and man, it's that whole freaking Tim Ferriss paradigm that everybody has. Like, oh, I should just be able to like drop ship a product from the beach. And like, if you're going to do anything, you're going to have to be able to do the work. So if you're an agency and you want to sign up, and again, skunks on the table, it's been a minute because I've been on high level for a while, but I remember like, connecting Mailgun and Twilio and customizing the white label app. Like, it was not an insignificant endeavor. I was walking through this thinking like, okay, there's like some technical infrastructure. Now your FAQs were great. I was able to do it. I'm a dummy when it comes to that stuff, so I got it done. But there's a big bite there in terms of the undertaking.
Yeah. And in fact, so big. And in fact, next quarter, we're going to make it so you no longer even have to do that. So that's going to be one of our big initiatives. And, it actually comes out of, we've been trying forever to get Twilio to recognize all the different people and give like a group discount. They just won't do it because their system's not set up to recognize all that. I get it. So we're going to roll out our own, but the benefit of that will also be that the agency will no longer have to go out and get their own. So we will make it easier on people, but it is something where, as an agency, we're just trying to help you, get going, save money, scale easier, just kind of bring your own infrastructure a little bit on the Twilio side. And you're right, it is part of the learning curve up front. But once you get through it, the great news about it is it's a one-time deal. Right. And once you're done, it's done forever.
Right. Well, and then, really, so this is the conversation you and I had right before the call started, was high level it's a suite of, it's a feature set that you can turn into your own SaaS product.
That's right.
And that's where you're going, right? Like, that's the long-term vision, is you want a bunch of agencies that own their own SaaS.
Absolutely. I think agencies of the future will be both they're going to be, you're an expert, right? The idea here is you can create an outcome And realistically, that outcome is going to be one part service and one part technology. And a lot of agencies today show up on the service side, and on the technology side, they kind of punt and they say, oh, well, go get ActiveCampaign, or oh, go get ClickFunnels, or whatever it might be. I think the agency of the future says, oh, you know what, actually, we got it all right here. Here you go, turnkey. You don't have to go get some third-party solution. We've got it all in-house. And so we've created a world where not only can you provide that technology, but you can also make money by creating that recurring revenue that the software companies you're currently recommending have. You're going to basically take that revenue back and put it in your pocket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they're punting on the software, they're also punting on the income.
Absolutely. Well, and I don't blame anybody, because there's really not a good model for that today. Like at best, there's probably an affiliate model out there for some people. But I think the big, kind of gotcha that I've seen is if you're out there giving away or promoting someone else's product, invariably, if you lose your client on the service side, they often stay with the software, because I hate to break it to everybody, software is really sticky. And so as a result, yeah, you might say, well, it's great, I still get my affiliate commission, but what if you could have all of that revenue, 100% of that revenue, and never lose that client? And it's your product, not their product. So as a result, you set the rules, you set the pricing, and again, you get all that revenue. Whereas today, you're not getting almost any of it, if any at all.
So I just want to repeat what you said, because that's brilliant, and I want to make sure that it lands. You bring them in on the service, because that's kind of what people think they want.
Yep, absolutely.
But the retention, I think on the service, the retention is increased because they're already using your software, and so it stands to reason that they'd be more likely to stay. Where in an alternative universe where that didn't exist, they might make a departure, and then even those that make a departure are going to stick around. And so now you still have that client, which means you still have the revenue. You might have additional at-bats later. There's a redemption opportunity because you get to jump in there and say, hey, I noticed that your conversion rate has dropped month over month since you canceled my PPC agency.
Bingo, exactly. Yeah. Yes. In fact, I think what is not talked about a lot in the agency space enough is how emotional, not factual, not data-driven, but emotional and psychological the decision to cancel the agency contract is, right? It's not that the person sits down and really analyzes your leads and your outcomes and the revenue you generate and all this other stuff, which is exactly how you want to be judged. It's not how they do it. They just literally say, $3,000 or whatever your bill is, too expensive, and you're gone. And it's like this knee-jerk reaction. And I think a lot of times they regret that very soon. A month later, 2 months later, they realize, oh, wow, we've really tailed off what happened. But now you go right back into the psychological issue of like, wait, so now I have to call this person back, admit I was wrong, which is what none of us like to do, and pay them again and hire them again. Instead, I think what most people say is, well, we validated that work, let's go find someone else to do it. And I think the software creates continuity throughout that whole process. So now it's not, I have to go admit I'm wrong. I'm just going to re-add the service versus rehire the person I fired. That's a totally different conversation.
Yeah, that's really intelligently stated too. And this is going to sound nefarious, and I don't mean it to be, but you're already integrated. You're in their tech stack. So for them to go off and get a different service provider becomes that much harder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's the goal. And I think it's in a positive light, which is if we're looking at the data, and we've got a lot of data, and we can look at a lot of agency trends in-house. And, if we look at the churn rates and the reasons for the churn, it has nothing to do with performance. I mean, we can see the performance of the leads. We can watch the leads turn into customers. And oftentimes we get these really positive scenarios where the agency on an actual conversion basis is just crushing it. And then they're still churning the customer and churning the revenue. And then when we jump in and we call that agency and say, hey, I just noticed, Bob just churned on you. They're a little surprised often, but we want to know what's going on, see if we can help. And they'll say things like, yeah, they just decided that, what, they want to pause for now. Like we've all heard that. We're not bad people. It's just, they're not ready now and all this other stuff. And it's just nonsense. And it just shows the psychological issue. But for those of our customers who are selling it as a software product, in addition to the services, they lose the services. They're still bummed about it, but they keep the software, and it allows them to continue to grow that recurring revenue stream, which allows them to also continue to grow the value of their business.
Well, so value of the business, I think, is the key there. From a value, I do some consulting for a FINRA licensed broker dealer. They're buying and selling companies and chopping them up and trying to figure out valuations. The highest valuation I've seen on anything is SaaS. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of these companies are like 15 to 20x. In some instances, I look at that and I'm like, that doesn't even necessarily make sense to me. But it's a really big deal when you have that passive recurring income.
Absolutely, and I think it's so a couple things. One, how many software companies get venture capital? all of them, right? It feels like. But how many agencies get venture capital? Like none of them, right? And there's a reason why. The margins are lower and the scalability is lower. And I think if you think about it from the perspective of a buyer, it makes sense. So if you went to go sell your agency tomorrow and they said, well, how does it work? And walk me through the model and all that, you could say, well, we have 20 customers, 30 customers, 100 customers, but it kind of goes up, it kind of goes down and moves around a lot. And we're having to go out and constantly get more customers. And you're like, that doesn't sound like a business. That sounds like a job, right? But if you said like, oh, well, actually, we have 100,000 in recurring revenue. We had, 95 last month. We're going to have 105 next month. And, if I ever get hit by a bus, nothing changes. That 105 will continue to come in. Now that sounds like something that, is a business and it's something you can really put a value on. Like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to pay you 10 times forward earnings on that multiple. And, because that's what the market will bear. But it's very easy for me to make that judgment because I'm not scared that 105 is going to fall down to 50 because you just lost your biggest client.
Where's the risk in your space? Like, is there, if you were to say, just risk analysis, a disruptor, a change in medium, a change in context, what is it that you're looking at that you're, I don't want to say cautious of, but maybe preparing for?
Oh, I think we're preparing to be the disruptor. So yeah. I think in reality, we're on our way to disrupting what has been a long established model, which is a software engineering team of some sort or another creates a product. And let's just say in the SMB market, they go out somehow, some way, whether it's, hand in mouth, knocking on doors, Facebook ads, I don't know what it is, but they get to the golden rule is the $1 million run rate. So for those of you doing the math, it's roughly 80-ish thousand a month. And then at that point, they desperately start calling around to venture capital firms because they're tired. It's a lot of work and what they want to do is they want to get big, they want to grow. And so they raise funding and all of that funding then just gets jammed back into ads, jammed into a sales team. And that's the sort of rinse and repeat story of every SaaS company you can imagine out there in the SMB space today. And honestly, even in the enterprise space. And so what does that really do at the end of the day? It creates a company whose focus is primarily on getting more money coming from a venture capital company, not on helping their customers. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, I think it's a very perverted method and it really takes away from everybody else in the market. So it could be agencies, and all of a sudden agencies are seen as a sales channel, not as a customer to serve, right? You're just like a person to like pilfer customers from. And then it's almost like they just steal your customers and then they throw you out the side of the car and you can die on the side of the road for all they care because they've got what they needed out of you. And I think all of those dynamics are terrible. And so what we're preparing to do is disrupt that model. We're going to take the tech and put it in the hands of the people, not in the hands of the few, but into the hands of the many. I heard the CEO of Shopify a while back, somebody asked him, what do you think about Amazon? And he said, I think Amazon is trying to build an empire. And I think we're trying to arm the rebels. And I very much think we're trying to do the same thing in our space. And I'm pretty passionate and excited about it.
Dude, that's brilliant. I love that analogy. Can I tell you a quick story?
Please.
Okay. So I'm not in the habit of bashing most organizations, even competitors. But I do think that it's helpful when you can arm people with information that might protect you from what could be deemed unethical behavior.
Sure.
That preface aside, I was an Infusionsoft partner. And you mentioned them like basically trying to squeeze every last client out of you.
Yeah.
I was an Infusionsoft partner and I was pushing clients over to Infusionsoft pretty actively. And then one day Infusionsoft rolls out the exact service that I offer. And I brought it up in the Infusionsoft partner meeting with Clay, the CEO, and I get pulled off into the hallway by the COO of Infusionsoft and berated more or less publicly on my lack of abundance mentality. But it was just it was an insane thing to watch happen. And what you just said struck such a resonant chord with me, man, because they were, and the thing about Infusionsoft, I don't even fault them. I know enough about their inner workings. They are so under pressure to produce.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say, let's look at a visual about that, right? So, they've raised to date $207 million.
Yeah.
They didn't raise it from their customers. And for the record, also, the other thing to remember is you generally don't raise money because you don't need money. There's this weird, funny thing. Like if you are making lots of money, you don't need lots of money. So when you raise money, it means that you're trying to fill in a gap and you're trying to grow, you're trying to accelerate. And so what happens is they take this money and they immediately rush out to spend it as fast as humanly possible. And what very quickly happens, they create a model where if they don't get that next round, they're done. Like lights are out, everybody's fired, business is gone. So it's just this constant pressure, like you just said, to get that next round of funding. And so as a result, if you're a leader in that organization, who are you going to care about, right? Are you going to care about that one dude who's in the partner meeting, who's complaining about the fact that we just try to replace him, or right? Or are you going to say, forget that dude. If that's going to help us get that next round, like we'll step on his neck if that's what we got to do, right? That is the modern reality of this equation.
Yeah, well, and they end up top heavy. And we do Google ads, as you know, and I've had SaaS customers come to me and say, cost per acquisition doesn't matter. We need a number of customers to show our investors.
There you go.
Which is also super dangerous.
Super dangerous. In fact, but that is the point, right? That's exactly right. It's like, cost be damned, just like get me the number, man.
Yeah. So one of the things that's so impressive about y'all, and dude, honestly, like this blows me away too. Maybe you can explain it to me. I'm a big fan of HubSpot. I think they've got a phenomenal feature set. I think they're super expensive, but they're very polished in terms of what's accessible to an SMB. They're probably the most polished solution.
Yeah.
However, to get a feature rolled out in HubSpot is 18 months of like usability study and research. And we're responsible for the fact that the HubSpot scheduler results in a thank you page so you can track conversions.
Okay.
And Sean, it took me a year and a half. I've got the emails, and it took me a year and a half to get that pushed through. At high level, like 2 weeks, I've seen something. Y'all are just like every Friday, just new feature, new feature, new feature, new feature. How do you why does every other software organization on the planet that I've ever been exposed to take a year and a half, and y'all are rolling out stuff faster than it takes them to think it up?
I tend to be a bit more cavalier than the average. And so I think that tends to be sort of trickle down through the organization. I mean, we're customer driven first and foremost. And so we're never planning out ahead 18 months because we know that our customers are going to help us in a shorter period figure out what's most important. We never look at it and say, what is the absolute most amazing list of features we can stuff into this thing? We think, what is the absolute least number of features we can put in this thing to get it out into the hands of our customers? Because we know they know what we need to know. And until we hand it to them, they're not going to be able to give us the feedback that we need. So the faster we move, the better we get, because then once it does get out there, if the 100 things we thought were important turn out to be irrelevant and a waste of time, and all these other things we never even thought about were so much more important. So if we leave room in our dev cycles that way, we can just basically jump in quickly, react, fill them in, and just iterate. And we just get a better product at the end of the day that's way more customer focused.
Yeah, well, a better product is right. I mean, some of the stuff that you rolled out is amazing. You're one of the first solutions that I've seen that's figured out the multi-channel attribution. Well, I mean, I can't say figured out, but you actually have some semblance of solution where everybody else is like, I don't know what to do here. Let's all figure this one out together.
Totally. Well, and again, I also think that it's tough because, again, think about these other organizations. They serve such a wide audience that, let's say take something like attribution, super important to an agency, really important to a marketer, not so important to a plumber because they just don't really quite know what that is, right? And it's not that it shouldn't be important. It's not actually important because on the ground, they're never going to get it. They're never going to understand it. And so if you're trying to figure out like how much budget should we put towards attribution, if you're serving everybody, it's really not that important because you're only serving really 10% of your audience with that maybe. Instead, you want to serve the other 90. So you're thinking, well, what can we give those folks? And I think it drowns out a lot of that. And again, that's the thing about agency only focus, right? Or serving agencies only as a group. We can really harmonize down on the things that matter.
Well, and what's interesting about that too is the agencies are at the tip of the spear. This is the most sophisticated user in the marketing spectrum. So you're building features for the most sophisticated user, which means you're going to, by definition, have the most sophisticated features.
Yeah, well, and that's the idea. And also, there's this underlying premise you have to realize in all these other systems that somehow you could teach a small business to market themselves. That is just inherent in the model. That's why they sell direct. We don't, because we believe truly that is a complete lie. We think that most SMBs, and I think every marketing agency and marketer could have seen this, where they'll roll in, they'll say, well, what are you currently using? Oh, we're using, HubSpot or whatever. And be like, great, what are you doing in HubSpot? Well, we're sending out the newsletter. And you're like, you're what? How much are you paying for that every month? Oh, $5,000, and you're like, oh my goodness, right? And it's like, it's because they've bought this F1 race car, right? But they're just, just driving it around the block because they just don't really know what to do with it. And so that's where we come in and we say, you know what? We're never going to sell it to the end user because we know without that professional driver, that car is just never going to perform as well as it could. And so we don't believe it. We're not going to do it.
You've got 10,000 agency customers.
Yep.
which is, I mean, insane. When I started, I think y'all were at 6. So
Yeah.
like almost double now. That's
Yep.
awesome. You mentioned earlier that you've got some common denominators in what differentiates a successful agency versus an agency that's failed. Would you mind sharing some of the, don't like give away the secret sauce, but what are some of the pro tips that you'd give an agency watching right now today on making sure that they're more successful in the agency ecosystem?
Totally. Absolutely. So I would say a couple of things. So one, we tend to find agencies that are more holistic in their approach tend to be the best agencies. So you could be niched. So that's cool. If you want to just be plumbers or HVAC or what lawyers or whatever it is, that's cool. That's not a crime. People do great in that. But within whoever it is that you serve, trying to not say, oh, I'm sorry, I just do that one thing. That's the thing that gets people killed. So, oh, I just do Facebook ads. I know I never do anything else. And then they're like, yeah, but we need and then they're a small business owner, right? You got to see it from their shoes. They're like, I don't know or want to hire 6 people to do all this stuff, right? I need someone to market my business. So we find that people who are more holistic, and that doesn't mean, oh, I do it all. I know how to do PPC. I know how to do SEO. It's no. I just know that I know someone who's great at PPC. I'm going to bring them in almost like a subcontractor, and I'm going to have them do the work because I know this customer needs it. And I know that my mission is to serve this customer and get them value, not to be like the best PPC person in the world or the best web designer in the world. But if they need a website, let's get them a good one, right? So that's something I think that's holistic. And then also the idea of, again, bringing in technology in addition to the services, because back to what does the customer need, right? Do they just need your one Facebook ad service that you do? Probably not. They probably also need something else like web chat on their website so they can bring free leads in every day, or reputation management so they can generate more Google reviews, or whatever it might be. But thinking like, how can I bring technology as well as how can I bring them a holistic approach to trying to solve all their marketing needs? I'd say those are the 2 tips I would give most agencies when they're trying to approach their clients.
That's value bomb right there ×2. I can tell you we're niche down. We only do Google ads. And if I don't lose a customer on price because I'm expensive, then I lose them because they just want to write one check. And I've had people tell me we need an agency that does everything.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of validity to what you just said. I'm going to overstep my bounds here, Sean, just a little bit. So reel me in.
Please do.
Without dropping any names, I happen to know that you currently house 3 of the biggest marketing names that I can think of, and you've stolen one of the thought leaders from the next biggest SaaS product. This person was, I think, like a trainer or like, hyper productive affiliate, and they've come over. I've secured the domain Funnel Exodus, and I'm going to run a challenge someday to teach people how to use HighLevel. But it's interesting to me because I see this massive wave moving over to HighLevel. So this leads to my question. Is there a saturation point? Is there a point to where it's just like everybody's got it, everybody's using it, and there's no opportunity left for the new agencies?
No, because that is looking at it from some sort of weird perspective, like, oh, well, because there are other agencies with this thing that I can't then get it myself and create value with it. I think that you need to look at it from the outside, which is, are there businesses out there that are currently not being served by agencies? And so long as there are, there's technically a saturation point. There's a saturation point to everything, but a realistic saturation point, I don't think so. You're talking about the largest market, certainly in the United States, but I'd say nearly the world, small businesses. I think there is, if you go look at Google Trends and you search digital marketing agency, never been searched more than it is right now, because those small businesses got this really big message with COVID, like, hey, digital is a thing. Like, I know that yesterday you could say, oh, I'm fine, people will walk in, but no one's walking in anymore. So it's digital, right? And they all got this message. They're racing out to find a digital marketing agency. So there's more demand. So not only was there a big market before, that now more of that market is demanding digital agency services. And so long as they're not all using HighLevel to some extent, which is, sadly, we are nowhere near, we have 200,000 SMBs on the platform through those 10,000 agencies today. And if you know the small business market, it's 30 million small businesses. So there is a very, very large number of businesses still out there for us to reach. Ultimately, there is a massive massive opportunity. So, is there technically a saturation point? Yeah. Are we anywhere near it today? No, we are not. We are less than 1%. And so I think it's a great time to jump in.
Yeah. So I asked that question with a little bit in the way of intention, because I absolutely agree with you. Like, I think that I see some people kind of worried about, like, oh, the land rush, and, we need to stake our claim and whatever. And in my mind, it's like there's, I run a Google Ads agency. You want to talk about saturated, every idiot with a laptop decides they want to run PPC. And yet we've been able to, like, carve out space for ourselves and plant our flag. So if you're an agency and you're watching this, it's HighLevel's the tool set. It's up to you to go in there and provide the value over and above. And, it's kind of the way that you end up using it. You threw out an interesting number there, Sean. You said 200,000 users with 10,000 agencies. That means the average agency has 20 customers, which seems high to me. So I feel like there's a handful of agencies that have a couple hundred customers.
Oh yeah. So the distribution is definitely wide. Don't get me wrong. I mean, towards the high end, you're going to find that there's a lot less. So yeah, it's definitely not I wouldn't say the average is the median, right? Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is what we're finding is that when people start to adopt the technology mindset as part of their agency, that number climbs very, very quickly. And I have just seen such tremendous expansion in the number of customers. And I think in due time, we will see the average will very quickly get at or above that number. And again, they may not all be on services, but they will all be a customer and they will all be paying. And the good news for software is there's no labor. So there's no, ads to create or websites to fashion or copy to write. So I think there's really good news on that horizon. So yeah, you're right. It's not 20 is not yet the average, but I think we'll get there. In fact, I think we'll eclipse it.
That's awesome. What's next for HighLevel? What do we get to see on the horizon?
Well, I mean, right now it's first, let's get the message out really about SaaS and about getting people to adopt both services and add software, not get rid of the services, but add software to the services. And then it's just about filling in any of the remaining gaps. I mean, we've got blogging coming up, hopefully next quarter, and then we'll have social media posting right behind that. Really just trying to round out the platform. And then from there, it's actually trying to continue to enhance the SMB side of it. So, hey, what are other ways that we can not only make it's stickier for the SMB, but also which makes it stickier for the agency, right? And then once we create that, we have the monetization model in place. It's like, well, what are other ways we can monetize? So, right now today you can monetize on the phone calls and the text messages. We'll also be rolling out monetization on the email side here very shortly. So it's just continuing to find ways like what are other things that we can give the agency that they can sell as their own product that allows them to create more revenue per customer, because that's going to drive up their profitability and it's going to drive up the stickiness at the same time.
Yeah, that email monetization is freaking brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to crush it.
A mild bug in your ear. We have some clients that are on a performance basis. It'd be really cool if in HighLevel we were able to bill according to lead or to converted deal or closed deal. Not that you asked me for feature requests. You can run a, so I mean it's a mild version of it, but it works. You can run a Stripe charge automatically based on anything you want. So for example, like an opportunity being converted to a one deal, Stripe charge. No way. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That thing is
so there you go.
So the triggers in HighLevel are like, I need to go spend more time in there because they're just so robust.
Well, and the workflow builder that just came out is awesome, right?
Oh, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's like triggers and campaigns all in one place, right? So yeah, it makes it super easy.
Yeah, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, it was great to be here.
Check out HighLevel. What's the best way if they want to? I know you got a 14-day free trial. You have the ability to watch a demo. Where should people start? Where do they go start?
I mean, if you said, I don't know, I want to check all this out, really dig through it, just go look at the YouTube channel. I mean, the YouTube channel, we put every new feature out there. It's available. It's public. You can go through it. We've got great interviews with people. We've got all kinds of in-depth demos, all that stuff. So if you really want to dig in and check it out, and then and the 14-day trial is the way to go. I mean, it's painless, it's easy, and you can get in there and get operational. And then once you do get on the 14-day free trial, you get in the 12,000 person Facebook group where you've got all these amazing marketers in there who can help you out with all kinds of things that, maybe it's not software related. You just need to know about a technique, or you're thinking about changing business models or attacking a certain niche or looking for a certain this. You've got a lot of really talented folks in there that are willing to help you out for free.
It's the most engaged Facebook group I've ever been a part of in my entire life. It's unbelievable. And then you've also got like a whole ecosystem being built around high level, like add-ons and apps and
Totally. Yeah. We do definitely have people who, yeah, for any gap, like we didn't, and this is the other thing, we're really big in enabling others to succeed. We have like an open developer API. We interview people who are just in the agency space providing good value. And as long as they come with a good recommendation, or preferably they are working with a high level customer already, we'll put them out in front of people and just say, hey, we heard that this person's doing something great. We've got somebody who's a high level customer who will vouch for them. So come on down, because we don't really care whether we make money at all on any of that stuff, because we don't, but we'd much rather just create more value for every agency, because again, we believe the agency is that key secret sauce to that business success. So anything we can do to help the agency really helps the small business at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I'll tell you, Sean, again, pandering aside, but you're an entrepreneurial hero of mine. Like what you've done here is huge.
Thanks.
I love arming the rebels. Like, I just think that's amazing. And I see it in action. And yeah, man, this is really fun. It's fun to see.
Oh, likewise. Well, thank you very much for having me. It was awesome to be here.
Yeah, excited. And if you're watching this, go check out, it's GoHighLevel.com. My affiliate link's in the description. If you don't click on my affiliate link, go to the website anyway. You're also going to notice in the YouTube channel, Sean's got this brilliant guy working for him, Chase, who's just like wicked smart, produces phenomenal content. I don't know where you found him, man, but he's like,
you know what? We just lucked into him. I'll tell you, I still feel lucky to this day.
Yeah, I love that cat. So anyway, Sean, thanks for being here. And if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. We shoot a video every single day. We're going to bring on more guests just like Sean, and I'll catch y'all later.